Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So today I am taking you with me on my trip to Houston. I had never been to Texas before and I had been wanting to go, and I just decided to plan it around my birthday. This is my first time traveling semi-alone. I did get on both planes to and from New York alone, but I did meet up with a friend that is from and currently staying in Houston. But I had been wanting to go and I just decided to bite the bullet and not wait on anybody else and take the trip by myself. I stayed at the Blossom Hotel in Houston, which was decent. I do have a review that I've left on Google that I will link below if you want to know everything in depth on how my stay was. I got a room with a double bed, and what really drew me to this hotel was the bathrooms. I have a thing for bathrooms for some reason. This bathroom had a rain shower head, which I personally really like. It was a fully marble, probably full marble bathroom, and it had a nice vanity going on as well. I got a room with double beds because it just ended up being the cheapest thing available. For some reason, one king or one queen was more expensive. I don't know why, but it just was. And then here's my view. It wasn't like an amazing view. I have heard that Houston has a nice skyline, so I was expecting a little bit more, but it was fine. It wasn't a bad view. I landed around 10 a.m., so I just put on some makeup, made myself presentable, and decided to get some food. My first stop was In-N-Out. I hadn't had In-N-Out in like 6 to 7 months, which was a long time. And it was so hot, but it's so crowded inside. So I just decided to sit outside with the birds and eat. And I was literally the only person out there. I decided to spend my first day thrift shopping as a very chill activity. Anytime I travel, I want to shop, and I definitely want to thrift shop. This is personally how I thrift shop. I pick a rack and look through every single item on the rack. That's how you find diamonds in the rough. It takes a long time to thrift shop for this reason, but I personally don't mind it. I like stores like this because a lot of times they don't overcharge or overprice their items. I ended up finding a long black jersey maxi skirt, which I'd been in the market for anyway. I couldn't try it on, but I trusted it was the right size and took it. I went down to Westheimer Road. I had originally wanted to go to Pavement, but this place is filled with so many different thrift stores if you want to come down here and just shop. Pavement was my favorite store on this line of stores. It reminded me kind of Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley, or of Little Five Points in Atlanta. I tried on this little swirly mini skirt, didn't love it, so I didn't buy it. I did really like this long green maxi skirt though, so I did purchase that. And I took in these sunglasses into the fitting room with me. I wasn't sure if I liked them, but I ended up buying them and subsequently wearing them for the rest of my trip. I went to Leopard Lounge next. The people in here were rude as fuck, but I'm not sure if that's just how they are or what. I tried on a couple of things, didn't love any of it, so I didn't buy any of it. And I stopped at the other thrift stores and wasn't super impressed. So I just decided to head on to my last stop, which was the Fashion Time Machine. However, on my way there, I found this weird vintage metaphysical shop called My Flaming Heart, and I was really into some of the stuff they had there. I'm a little bit of a moon rocks and crystals type of girl, so stores like this really get me. They had a lot of rose quartz and amethysts and different little idols and all types of weird things jammed into this store. They even had this bucket of sewing notions with different symbols and pentagrams on them and all types of stuff. They even had this weird section in the back with these dolls that I just refused to touch because it was creeping me out. But I did get these 2 rings that I was into. Then I went over to the Fashion Time Machine. This lady has a bunch of cute stuff in her shop. I found this really nice striped top as if I need another one, but it was too cute not to have. And so I bought it and took it with me, then went back to my room because I was so tired from my flight and slept for the night. The next day, I decided to make my museum day, but before heading out to see a bunch of art, I stopped to cross off one of the restaurants on my list, which was 3 by Wolfgang Puck. It wasn't a super nice place, but thankfully I think it was priced just right for what it was. I started off with this lychee mocktail, which was actually really yummy, and then I went and got a Caesar salad. It came with anchovies, which I wasn't sure if I was going to like, but clearly it was very good because I cleaned my plate. And then I got this pasta. I thought it was going to be a sandwich for some reason. I don't think I read the menu very well, so I also got fries, but it was fine. The pasta was cooked well. The fries were decent. The lady at the front, her name was Mary. I told her it was my birthday, so my server, Anthony, bought me this tiramisu, and it was so kind of them. I don't like tiramisu, but it's all right. I ate some of it and headed off to the Contemporary Arts Museum. I was here to see a few pieces in particular. It's weird because all of the buildings are connected, and every time you walk to a different building, you walk through basically an art piece. So the very first art piece that I saw that I was really into was by Carlos Cruz Diaz. It was this concept he had of not having to actually use any medium for color. And so you walk through the hallways and the color kind of changes as you walk and you experience these colors while you try to get to the next building. Now, going to the next building where I really wanted to go see a Kusama piece, I encountered these weird light situations, and this was actually completely open on both sides, which I didn't realize. The man actually told me that at least one person falls into these a day, which is crazy and dangerous, and you'd think they'd fix it, but they haven't. I went to another building. I'm not even sure where. I kept getting lost, but I finally got to see my very first Kusama piece, and there was no line. I was completely shocked. And it's actually really tiny in there, but it was so gorgeous to experience. You just stand there. The duration is a full minute, and the girls actually let me go back more than once because there was no line. Super cool to see it in real time, and honestly, the videos don't even fully do it justice. After leaving there, I went to the sculpture garden outside. Again, it was so hot. Nobody was outside. For some reason, the heat didn't bother me too much. It was about, I think, 98 this day. It wasn't terrible. It was nice to see a bunch of sculptures. I used to do sculptures growing up. I really came here to see the Cloud Column by Anish Kapoor. This one was really cool to see, and I just walked around to see what else was there as well before I myself got too hot and decided to leave. I had a lot of stuff on my list for this day, so after those two, I just decided to leave and go to the Houston Museum of Natural Science. Now, this place does offer free parking, but I had to park in some lot and walk all the way to the museum. Thank God I brought a change of shoes. I went to the Cockrell Butterfly Center and got to see a bunch of really pretty butterflies. This place is packed with them. A lot of them honestly don't move around too much, and it's definitely difficult to get photos of them, but it's really pretty in here. Obviously a bit humid for the butterflies, but you'll definitely be able to catch some butterflies in action. There was even a butterfly that landed on a baby's head. It was so cute. It was kind of sad because there were some butterflies that were just on the windows. I felt like they wanted to escape, but I guess their lifespan isn't that long anyway, so I guess it's okay. There was this little area where you could pay to release butterflies, which is a little morbid to me. I think it was like $20. I didn't pay to release any of them, especially after I saw one that looked almost dead. After seeing the butterflies, I went to the McGovern Centennial Gardens, which was right around the corner, and it's really beautifully kept up. They have these huge orange flower bushes that are just absolutely gorgeous. And like I said, it was hot this day, but not unbearably so. They also do have some nice shaded areas that you can sit in and just chill in if you don't want to be in direct sunlight. There's plenty of benches. There were also some areas that were supposed to have roses and other flowers. They just weren't in bloom at the time. After leaving the Museum of Natural Sciences, I went to the Rothko Chapel, which I highly recommend. It's created by Mark Rothko, and it's a non-denominational church. So there's a bunch of his paintings inside, and actually when you first walk in, there's a book where people are allowed to just write whatever they feel. And the book actually really moved me and set the tone for being inside of the space. No pictures and no photography is allowed, but I recommend just going for the experience. It was really nice to be there. Then I went to the Menil collection, which is on those same grounds. I started at the main building. Now, there's also no pictures or videos allowed in the rooms that you can see off to the sides. You can take as many as you want in the hallways, but not in the rooms. But they had some cool pieces, one by Warhol, one by Kara Walker, one by Walter Hopps, and a few other artists. Then after this, I went to the Cy Twombly Gallery. No pictures, no videos, but it was interesting to see a bunch of his pieces. I also saw the Dan Flavin installation at Richmond Hall. He just makes a bunch of light sculptures, but still worth seeing. all of this stuff is free, the Menil collection, so I didn't have to pay to see any of this art. After a day of the museums, I met up with my friend Robert and his friend Julio in Pearland. We went to Santa Barbara Italian Cafe. We got some crab risotto, some Cajun fried chicken pasta, and I forget what this was called, but all of it was pretty decent. The next day was my birthday. I decided that I really wanted to ride rides for my birthday. It had been so long since I'd been on a roller coaster, and I love roller coasters. So my friend told me about Pleasure Pier. So I drove back to Pearland to meet Robert at his house. When I got there, he wasn't ready yet, but he has a whole game room. So I decided to play some pool while I waited, which turns out I am very bad at. We went to Whataburger, which I had never had. Robert really wanted me to try it. I got this limited edition banana pudding shake, which was so good. And then I just got the Whataburger with literally everything on it, some fries and spicy jalapeno ketchup. Then we took the drive out to Galveston Beach. It was maybe about 45 minutes to an hour. Wasn't a terrible drive. Definitely very much a beach town. And here you can see Pleasure Pier. Now, I grew up going to the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk in Santa Cruz, California, so I'm used to a ton of rides, a really long boardwalk. This one was pretty short. There was only about 7 rides, but we did ride every single one of them except for the water ride because I didn't want to be wet all day. It was cute. It was a nice time. However, we got so nauseous and we attributed it to us just being older and maybe too old to be riding rides anymore. He also took me down to this place called Murdoch's, which I guess is some sort of beachy place where you can buy stuff for your home. Honestly, it reminded me of where probably every Disney Channel set designer shopped for the shows that I saw growing up. They had some really cute wind chimes and interesting little trinkets and shirts and all types of random stuff. They also had hermit crabs for sale, which again was kind of sad, but I did see a few and try to pick up a few. I don't know, their pinchers scare me, so I wasn't playing around too much with them. After we finished the day at Pleasure Pier, Robert drove me around just to show me a bit of Galveston. I was really into the coloring of the beach houses here. It was so bright and cheerful and happy. We stopped at a gas station before we headed back into Houston, and he got these watermelon candies, which he put chamoy all over. And Robert was super into this. He really wanted me to try some, so he wrapped one in a strawberry belt for me, and I was just so not feeling it. Not for me, too sweet. Too sticky. Then we drove back to Houston and I went back to my hotel to get ready for my solo birthday dinner. I made reservations for a solo dinner at this place called Riel, a small cozy place. I was seated right next to the kitchen and I just watched The Bear, so getting to hear the chef say hands added to the ambiance for me. I got the mushroom empanadas recommended by my waiter. They were nice, but for me, the best part of my meal was the truffle pierogies. Super, super yummy and just filling enough. I'm a dessert girl, so I got this dessert. It wasn't very good. I wouldn't get dessert if I went back here a second time. And then my waiter was so nice, he gave me a free dessert wine to go along with it. And then I drove back to my hotel to turn in for the night. The next day, Robert's roommate Allison flew in to Houston and we all drove out to Austin for Robert's annual family boat trip. The drive to Austin wasn't too bad. It was about 3 hours. Robert really wanted us to see this place called Buc-ee's. The first one we went to was really small. I didn't really see the hype. It reminded me kind of like a 7-Eleven or something. Now, this place did make like their own salsas and they had jerky for sale, which I thought was pretty interesting. But it didn't seem that special to me until we went to another one, which you'll see much later in the video. I got some applesauce to go and then we headed back on the road. It's not a very scenic drive, but there were so many cows. I really wanted a picture with one of the cows, and we were kind of scared we were going to get shot or something rolling up on people's ranch, so I didn't really get a great picture. But we finally got into Austin, and we started with some thrift shopping. We started at Ermine Vintage, a really cute, small vintage store. I will say, this place is weirdly liberal. A lot of non-binary people and trans people running these stores. I wasn't expecting it to be so welcoming, honestly. I found this super cute necklace, not expensive at all, probably would have been $50 in New York. It was only like 15 bucks, so I got it. And then we went across the street to Room Service Vintage, and this place was packed wall to wall with stuff. Lots of home furnishings, plenty of clothes, shoes, accessories, all types of stuff. It was honestly pretty overwhelming. None of us bought anything. It was just too much to look at. After leaving there, we went to the hotel to check in. We got some sightseeing in just to get the vibe of Austin. There was this weird dog supply place with dogs on the front lawn and on the roof that I thought was cute. And then we checked into our hotel at the Hyatt and got changed to go to dinner with Robert's family. Dinner was at this place called The Boat. Honestly, some of the best shrimp gumbo I've ever had in my life. Oh, it was so delicious. But we left dinner early to go to the Congress Bridge for bats. I had seen it online, and so we decided to go and see if we could see some bats take off. Apparently they take off here every single night. You can see how packed this bridge is with people just waiting to see these bats take flight. We started on one side of the bridge, and all of these people had their boats just lined up waiting to watch this happen. They eventually started shining these red lights. I think it's because you can see the bats from down there, and if you use red lights, you don't disturb them. Now, I tried to get some footage of the bats taking flight, and if you look super, super closely, you can see these little dots appearing and disappearing on the screen, but they were so hard to get because these bats are tiny, and they just fly off one by one. We stayed for like an hour, and then we kind of just got sick of it and decided to leave. The next day, we got up bright and early for the family boat trip on Lake Travis. Just to give you guys a better idea, this is the boat that we were on. It was a complete double-decker boat with a slide, and we started off in a place where there was a little bit more wind chill, but it was so hard to swim in this water. Oh my gosh. So we stayed here for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and then we moved the boat to a much calmer part of the water. And we all just sat in floaties and kind of just chilled in the water all day. Everybody brought food, which was really nice, and Robert's dad cooked. He made burgers and hot dogs. Those burgers were so good. Oh my God. And people brought fruit. His mom made pasta salad. It was just a really nice kind of family affair to be with somebody else's family. There were critters in the water. One of Robert's nieces caught a fish. There was also like turtles and stuff in there, but it was a fun time. We just chilled in the water all day until about 3-4 p.m. Then we went to this place called Gloria's, and the three of us met up with one of Robert's childhood friends. This place was cool. The food was okay. The drinks were strong. Now, that I will give them. This is a place to go if you want a strong drink. I got fajitas. I think Robert got flautas, and I forget what Allison and his friend got, but like I said, the food was like okay. It wasn't anything to write home about. However, for dessert, I wanted to get churros, and these churros were smacking. Go to Gloria's, get you some churros. After that, this whole thing was located in this place called The Domain, which turns into kind of like a party bar section thing at night. We started at Wonder Bar, and this place is really cute if you like Instagram pictures. They even have like a secret room that you can go in and play Twister, and they have these really cute banana swings as well. Then we headed to Rose Room, which was not too far from here. I swear to God, this was like if Ghost from Powers Truth Nightclub came to life. It was so extra, so dramatic. There was literally a lady doing aerial arts on the ceiling. I mean, just look at this. Absolutely insane. And so right after that, we went upstairs to this place called 77 Degrees. They had all these little beds and stuff, so we just plopped down and sat there for like an hour and a half. The Atlanta in me jumped out. I got a hookah and smoked it, and after about an hour or two, we left to go home for the night. That had basically concluded our day in Austin, but before we left, we wanted to go to the Blanton Museum of Art. There was this really incredible exhibit called Day Jobs. There was some artwork by Dan Flavin, again, the light artist. Fred Wilson. There was a Jeff Koons. I saw my very first Jeff Koons. There were some Warhol pieces and so many more artists. And this was a really inspiring exhibit to see, mostly because it was based on the fact that a lot of artists have to have some sort of day job to even fund their artistic lives. And me, Allison, and Robert all work in film and TV, and so none of us are actually working right now, and we're having to just take certain jobs and do certain things to get by and to survive. And so it was so nice to know that whatever else you do in life can really help to inspire you and further your art down the line when you finally get to become the artist that you've always dreamed to be. This exhibit left, I think, 2 days after we left, so it's gone now. But if you can find it, I would highly recommend going to see it. Upstairs, there was some more art. There was a really cool comb sculpture, I guess, of Madam C.J. Walker by Sonia Clark, made completely out of combs, which I thought was dope. There was also this section of Farrah Fawcett. This had her literal footprints in it, mirroring Venus, which I thought was pretty cool. And then there was this kind of interactive installation called Missions by Sildo, which was nice as well. And downstairs, they had a sculpture area, which is probably really great if you're into just going to a museum to just sketch and brush up on your skills. After that, we had lunch and we finally got back on the road to go back to Houston. However, I had to use the bathroom because I always have to use the bathroom, and we went to a real Buc-ee's. They sell jerky and they do this really cute thing where they go, "Fresh on the board," and they mirror it back to each other. It's so funny, but this place had so much stuff: clothes, magnets, shoes, home decor, anything you can think of, it's at Buc-ee's. And I totally got why my friend wanted me to see it. We drove all the way back to Houston. It should have been a short drive. It wasn't that short because we kept stopping for stuff for some reason. But we ended up getting back to Houston around 8 p.m. I picked up my second rental car, and then I checked into my bed and breakfast. I stayed at this place called Sarah's Inn. If you want a full review, it'll be linked below. I left one on Google. This is just like a really old home with about 8 rooms. I was really attracted to the interior of it. I love the way that it was decorated, set up. I really like antique kind of homes and stuff. They even have like this room where you can throw parties or have a wedding. It was a really nice looking home. I decided to get the rooftop suite because I wanted to have the access to go outside in a private area. This was my bedroom for the next few days, decorated really nicely. I loved the wallpaper so much. The bed was pretty comfy too. And I loved these mirrors, everything. The decor was amazing. There was a little common area where I just set up my bags to stay, and the bathroom was nothing special. Also a rain shower, which was pretty short, and I'm only 5'2", so if you're taller than me, I don't know about the rooftop suite. Even though it was late, I wanted to cross off one more thing on my food list, so I went to this place called Ninja Matcha for an iced matcha latte. I've become a crazy matcha person. I love it. So this place seemed legit, and it definitely was. The guys were really nice. They gave me a free sample of soft serve matcha, which was delicious. And I got a level 2 matcha. Next time I would just get a level 1. It was a little bit too bitter for me, but it's definitely legit. The next morning, I went upstairs to check out the rooftop since it was finally sunny enough to see what it was like. The view was a little bit obstructed by power lines, but it's a nice enough place to just get some sun or watch the sunset if it's the evening. I was concerned because I didn't have any sunscreen on, so I went downstairs, got dressed, and ready for the day. I decided to start my day off at this place called Mickey's Soul Food Cafe. Y'all, run, do not walk to Mickey's Soul Food Cafe. It's a steam top, so you basically can choose whatever you want. They have plenty of food options plus dessert. I decided to get smothered chicken over rice, mac and cheese, green beans, banana pudding, and cornbread. Easily the best banana pudding I've ever had in my entire life. After that, I drove to the Galleria with my skirt completely unzipped so my stomach could hang over after that delicious meal. And I don't know why I thought I was going to love going to the mall. I kind of hated it. The mall just feels very homogenous. Nothing feels special anymore that a lot of brands are putting out, be them high-end or affordable. I ended up just going to Nordstrom, found a really cute slip dress, bought it, and headed out after like an hour and a half. Then I decided to do some sightseeing. I went to this place called the Kinder Land Bridge, and you guys, I was attacked. Oh my God, what the fuck? While walking over it, there was these huge flying locusts or something. Ugh, they were creeping me out. Really, the best way to view this land bridge is to just drive through it, because driving over it, walking across it, I couldn't get the best view, but driving through it, it's a really cool structural situation. I drove through it like 3 more times just for fun. Then I decided to go to the beer can house. It was closed, but you can still view it even if it's closed. It's completely made out of beer cans, tops, lids, bottoms, even the parts that you wrap around a beer. And it makes the most delightful noise when the wind hits it. Really cool. And then I drove around. I was in Memorial Drive area, and the homes here were really beautiful. I have to say, Texas, of course, has some great property. I think my favorite thing was that none of them looked like cookie cutter houses, and even next to each other, none of the houses looked exactly the same. Obviously, plenty of space. I'm sure these aren't cheap houses, but each of them still had an air of individuality, which I really, really liked. So I just drove around looking at some of the beautiful real estate that was here. Definitely a place I'd be willing to buy a home in. After this, I went back and decided to sit on the rooftop for a little while, get some sun, and there was a bird that was singing to me. So cute. So after that, I went to this place called Soma Sushi. I was still kind of full, but I knew I was going to be way too hungry if I didn't eat anything. The service here was a little subpar. I had ordered wine and it took her way too long to bring me the wine, but the food was really good. I got this seared scallop and quail egg with truffle omakase. Delicious, and had the best texture. That was one thing about this place. The texture of the food here was perfect. I also got the pork belly buns, which had this amazing sear on the pork belly, and I could tell that the buns were made fresh. And with the onions and the cucumbers, just so good. I can't remember exactly the roll I got. I think it was the firecracker roll. This wasn't my favorite thing I had that night, but still really, really yummy. I also got green tea ice cream for dessert. Really delicious. I would totally come here again. I headed back to Sarah's Inn for the night. After showering, I got some glasses of wine from the kitchen, which they provide for free, and journaled to get some things off of my mind and went to bed. The next day was my last full day in Houston, so I booked a horseback riding lesson at Cypress Trails. I really enjoyed being here for a few reasons. When you book online, they ask you about your level of experience with riding horses, which is great because a lot of times when I go horseback riding, I tend to find that I'm learning the same thing over and over again. So I did a solo lesson because it wasn't that much more expensive than a group one. They gave me a free bandana to put under my helmet, which was great. This was my horse. Her name was Jasmine, and my rider's name was Cece. And Cece took me on an adventure trail ride. She took me through all types of areas and told me about a lot of the history of the land. We even went in some water. I almost got stuck with my horse, Jasmine, but thankfully turned out okay. And we rode for an hour and a half. Cece was great. She kept checking in on me, and we even did some advanced things I had never done before. So highly recommend this place, and I will definitely come back if I'm ever back in Houston. On my way to the ranch, I had seen this building called La Luz del Mundo. I guess it's just a church, but I saw it from the freeway and the architecture looked so beautiful. So I decided on my way back to stop to take a look at it. It was completely locked up, could not go in, but it was still really beautiful to see and get a closer look at. I really appreciated it. After stopping off to view a building that was basically on the side of the road, I drove back into Houston and stopped at Common Bond Coffee and Bakery. Now, I got a matcha and a sandwich, and in my opinion, these were wildly overpriced. I paid like $20 for both of them, but whatever. The place was cute. It wasn't busy at all. By this time, it was around 2, maybe closer to 3 p.m. They had a lot of pastries available in the front. I kind of wished I was hungry enough for one of them, but I wanted to eat light because I knew I was going to do a big dinner for my last dinner. So I went back to my bed and breakfast and completely hosed down from my horseback ride. And guys, I was so exhausted. I mean, Cece really worked me out. So I showered, lotioned, put on some relaxing clothes, ate. The matcha was really good, but the sandwich was so not worth it. So I would not go back for food. I would just go back for matcha. After inhaling my meal, I got in the bed, put on The Office, wrapped up my hair, and literally did not move for like the next 5 hours. I was completely exhausted and I was so sore from all of the trotting and cantering with the horse. Before going to dinner, since it was my last night in Houston, I went up to the roof to see if I could catch the sunset. I made reservations around 8:30, which I probably should have pushed to a bit later because I didn't get to see the sky turn a really pretty pink hue, but I still got a pretty nice view of the sunset. I got in the car and drove to, I believe, downtown Houston to go to this restaurant called Potente. I think that's how my servers pronounced it. I had made reservations to actually sit at a table because I hate sitting at bars, and there was only one table that seated 11 left, so I had them clear it for me, and this is where I sat for the night. Now, this place visually is really cute, but in my opinion, the food didn't live up to the atmosphere. It started with this like olive green hummus, which was fine, nothing special. And then I think I got aragosta. I couldn't pronounce anything on this menu, you guys, but this looks as good as it tastes. Not great. And then I got this spaghetti, some truffle spaghetti thing, and I added crab to it. This was pretty good, very filling, not like incredibly delicious, but the truffle was fresh. I'll give them that. And then because I'm a dessert girl, I got 2 desserts. I got creme brulee, and it looks really big, but it was a thin layer. And then I also got some sorbet. I got passion fruit, raspberry, and lemon. The creme brulee was absolutely magnificent. Super good, cooked really well. And the sorbets were pretty good too. This place was decent, but for what I paid, I wouldn't come here again. It's nothing to write home about, honestly. The next morning, I woke up and packed as quickly as I could and prayed that my suitcase was not overweight because it was like 45 pounds coming here. And my flight wasn't until 6 p.m., so I checked out at 11 and got some matcha from Common Bond because, yes, it was that good. And then just decided to see as much of Houston that was left as I could before I had to leave. There were these silver arches that I had passed at some point, and I wanted to go back to get some photos and videos of it, and it's a really beautiful structure. This was in Uptown Houston. Then after that, I went to the theater district and saw this Virtuoso sculpture, really cool sculpture, and they have music playing in the background. Then I went to Texas Pipe and Supply to see some of their sculptures, but then this man started creeping me out, so I had to leave. Lastly, I went to see the Water Wall Park. Very scenic area, great place to take pictures, and really relaxing sound. Really cool. I wonder how much water they waste with this sculpture. My very last stop is this place called Ninfa's Original Uptown Houston. Apparently it's the place of the original fajita. Now, these fajitas were expensive as shit, y'all. $40 fucking dollars. But I came here for fajitas, so I got the fajitas. Now, the meat was very tender. Very, very tender. I'll give them that. I also got some queso. Queso was all right. The fajitas were decent. I don't think they were worth $40, but that's okay. Then before I left, I really wanted some churros, so I went to the Galleria Food Truck Park and found a truck that had the best reviews for churros. It's called Taco Fuego. The churros were all right. I probably should have just get them, but no biggie. Then I went to the airport, got on a plane, and went back home to New York. Overall, this was such a fun trip. I really just ate and saw art, which is all I want to do with my life anyways. Thank you guys for watching, and if you visit any of the spots that I put in this video, let me know. I'll see you guys very soon. Bye.